This video is on the first module of forest therapy, and this module deals with type 2 diabetes, thyroidism and obesity. We will be having this whole conversation in 3 segments. First of all, we will try to discuss what is this problem, why it is increasing so much, and is there any interconnectedness between these 3 situations. And then I will share my own experiences of Sehatvan, how it has been with Sehatvan when people came here for these issues and what happened with them. And in the third segment, we will share with you the protocol that we are following at Sehatvan to take care of these problems. And as I mentioned in the introductory video for this series, that in this whole series we will be using many charts and booklets, because we want to make only one video to serve both the audiences of the professionals and also of a common user. So we will be using many charts and booklets, and those who are interested in deeply looking at them, getting more insight or using them, they are welcome to download those charts and booklets from our website. So let us begin with that what is this disease and is there any interconnectedness. Now you see, all these 3 things, type 2 diabetes, obesity and thyroidism, are on rise, and they are rising like anything. Many census says that every 3rd adult is suffering from them. And when person gets one thing, then second thing follows and third also follows. So there is a lot of interconnectedness also. I have prepared a chart. This chart is entitled Obesity and Type 2 Diabetes Pathways. It doesn't have a mention of thyroidism, but thyroidism is there in the background, because all these issues are kind of endocrine issues, and they are linked with the hormones. Hormones related with the diabetes or with the pancreas, like insulin, glucagon, and there are a couple of more. And then the hormones related with the thyroid, like thyroid stimulating hormones secreted by the pituitary gland. Also the hormones of thyroid gland itself, T3, T4, etc. You see, the insulin has a direct role with the obesity. Likewise, these thyroid hormones also have a role with the obesity. So I would say all these 3 things are actually the endocrine problems. Either they are the problems directly or they are the manifestation of such problems. This chart explains that what happens and how things follow. I have divided this in certain brackets. In this first bracket deals with the first cause of these problems is sedentary lifestyle. With sedentary lifestyle, I mean that when you have very little physicality in your life, mostly you are sitting and you are moving your body very less. Second is the situation of high mental indulgences. When you are doing things of high mental indulgence, either you are being consumed mentally, like you are a lot into kind of social media or watching videos or things like that, or you are actually using your mind for certain things, like you are an intellectual person, you are an author, or you are a musician, or you are a scientist. In such situations also, if you are not using your body proportionately, then there is quite a good likelihood that you will suffer from all these diseases. And third cause of these situations is the high carb or low fat diet. For last 10-15 years, there has been a kind of undercurrent in the human society that fat is bad, and there came up many diets which used very little fat. There came out many products which claimed being 0 fat, like that. But the other side of that was that we started consuming a lot of carbohydrate. And carbohydrate is addictive. Carbohydrate makes you feel more hungry, so you eat more. And it is actually the carbohydrate that makes you obese. It's not the fat. Fat actually brings you satiety. And when you have a balanced diet, when you are consuming reasonable quantity of fat, you never grow fat, because then you eat less actually. The fourth cause of these problems is epigenetic imbalance. Now, epigenetics is a new science that's an offshoot of genetics, and we have done a video on this by the name of gene switching. And what does this say is this, that the whole structure and functionality of our body is determined by our genes or DNA, but DNA or gene only map the structure or functionality. There is another system, and that system actually controls the switching of all those genes and DNA, that which part of DNA to become active, which gene to kind of translate more, and which gene to not to translate that much, or when to translate and where to translate. So this all is determined by the switching system, and that switching system is known as epigenetic. Now, this switching system got developed over a period of thousands or millions of years and was in sync with the surroundings, and surroundings for thousands or millions of years were natural. They were not so much man-made. There were not those kind of elements which you encounter these days. And because of that, when you go away from the nature, this switching system gets imbalanced, and because of this imbalance, most of the endocrine functions go imbalance. Like there could be faulty production of some hormones, or there could be more of some hormones, less of some hormones, and many other things. So that balancing is needed, and so that is also another major cause of these problems. So there are mainly four causes: sedentary lifestyle, high mental indulgences, high carb or low fat diet, and epigenetic imbalances. Now these things can directly lead to a situation called insulin receptor inactivation or insulin resistance, which further lead to a thing called as glucose intolerance, and then it translates into type 2 diabetes. So there could be a direct path to it, but it's only few people who take this direct path. Most of the people, I would say almost 90% people, this path is not this straight, it's a more of a circular path. And the path is like this because of these factors. First, there would be obesity, you will gain weight. If not directly weight, then your fat will go up and your muscle could be low. You might look thin, but still you might be carrying a lot of fat. So these factors will cause you become obese, and then that situation will lead to this situation, which is insulin receptor inactivation or insulin resistance, and your insulin will not work properly. When the insulin doesn't work properly, then body starts making more and more insulin, and this situation is known as hyperinsulinemia, that your insulin level goes up, though the performance goes down, but the quantity of insulin in the blood, in the body goes up. And as this quantity goes up, as insulin level goes up, then that induces the obesity. You might have seen it in many people, that whenever a doctor puts any diabetic person on insulin, all such people start gaining weight. So whenever there is more insulin in the body, there would be more tendency to become obese. And when there is more of obesity, then there would be more of insulin resistance. And when there is more of insulin resistance, then there would be more of insulin production, hyperinsulinemia, which will further lead to obesity. And this is the cycle. And this is the cycle, this is the trap where most people are caught. And this is the reason why most people keep struggling with their weight or thyroid issue or diabetes for whole of their life. There could be some improvement, then they will retreat back. So unless you go out of this cycle, this problem is not going to solve. Breaking of this cycle is essential, and once you break this cycle, I mean mostly, then this never reoccur. Now coming to sharing with you the Sehatvan experiences, how it has been with the people with these conditions who came here. Many people came here because initially we were focusing on these diseases more. And let me first again help you understand what is Sehatvan. Sehatvan is not a medical institution, and we never claim that we can cure diabetes or we can get rid of you of certain conditions like that. It's not like that. We are basically an experimental space, a research space where we are doing some work on research. And we invite people to join us in that experiment at their own responsibility, at their own risk, and they can participate into this. Whatever we are doing is at a research stage, and it may take at least 10 or 20 years, because before whatever we are doing becomes the part of a mainstream medical world, but that's going to take a lot of time. So if somebody wants to try that out and get benefited out with that, they need to actually participate in the experimental model, and we call it a self-experimentation, that you experiment on yourself. We just provide you the past data and give you some suggestions which you may follow or you may not follow, and then you can experiment on yourself. Our finding is this, that in most of the people who came with reasonable time with themselves, some people came here with very little time, like 3 days or 1 week. Actually, it doesn't go well in that short of time. You need to come here for at least 2-3 weeks. So if you are coming with good time and good commitment, we have found that it has practically worked in everybody. And as people have been coming here, we have been improvising this protocol. So now I'm going to discuss with you what is the protocol that we are following here. This chart explains the protocol which we call forest therapy protocol for diabetes, thyroidism and obesity. And primarily the protocol is divided in 2 parts. One part we call as the forest protocol, and the second part is called as supplementary home protocol, which you follow after going at your home place. The forest part is again divided in 3 parts. First is called epigenetic balancing, second is called autophagic cleansing and rejuvenation, and third is called re-strengthening. And whole forest part takes around 15 to 20 days, whereas the home protocol takes 3 to 4 weeks. Now coming to the first part of forest protocol, epigenetic balancing. As I told you earlier, that because we have gone away from the nature, most of our switching system, gene switching system has gone bad, is not working properly. So we need to actually fine tune, restore that switching system, and it doesn't take a lot of time in doing that. We have observed just in 4 or 5 days, in 1 week's time, you put any person in pristine nature for a week, and if that person goes close to the elements and do more of physical things, there is a rapid recovery and the switching system goes well. So typically we ask people going for this for 5 days, and what do? Is this that we ask people to avoid all the things that have any kind of mental stimulation or indulgences, because we really want you to get into your body, and this is why we also call this part being getting into the body. So the first component is this, that all the mental stimulations and indulgences are to be avoided, whether that stimulation is through substances, any kind of substance use, including tea and coffee, to be avoided. Anything that stimulates your brain, stimulates your mind, that is to be avoided. And all the indulgences, whether this is the indulging in a reading of a newspaper, being a lot on the phone or on a computer, or reading a book or listening to the music, or entering into some kind of non-essential conversations. Those all are mind traps. Even to the extent we suggest people not to practice yoga or meditation, because yoga and meditation also has a lot to do with the mind. And that also takes you away from it takes you away from your natural synchronicity of the body. So those 2 things are also avoided. So one component is that you avoid these things, and second component is this, that you expose yourself a lot to the nature, to the basic elements, and you indulge into a lot of physical labor, hard physical labor. Exposing to the nature is not an issue, because it's all nature. So nature is there, nothing to be done for that. But it does take some effort to expose yourself to the elements. So we suggest people going for a good amount of sunbathing, having good contact with the mud, and being in very kind of natural energy spaces. And doing physical labor does two things. One is this, that it keeps your mind cool. Because if you are not indulging into physical labor, then your mind will supersede your body. And when mind supersedes body, it doesn't let you go inside your body, and then your mind will either create boredom or will create fantasies and will take your attention somewhere else. So we want to cut down on that, and the effective way we have found of cutting down is this, that you indulge in lot of physical labor. So that physical labor cuts down the mind indulgences. We don't count the exercises and those things being the physical labor. We actually mean the real physical labor. And second thing is this, that this also tones up your muscles. So actually you feel more powerful, more courageous, and you are ready to participate in the experiment more wholeheartedly, with less and less of fear. The second component of the process is autophagic cleansing and regeneration. Now we have been talking of autophagy a lot. Many people are talking of autophagy a lot these days, and it really does wonders. It does work a lot. And autophagy basically means that you spend a few days without eating. That is, that you go on a water only fast. What does this do? When you are on a water only fast, then your body detoxicates itself and also makes it new. So two things happen simultaneously. All those things which are not needed in the body, are bad for the body, are either thrown out or they are converted in something useful. And second is this, that your repair and your renewal is accelerated a lot. You have new stem cells, you have new neuron, you have new cardiac cells. Whole body starts becoming new. And that cleansing and that newness plus that proper switching actually settles everything right, and you start getting out of those problems. You start getting out of obesity or out of type 2 diabetes and also of thyroidism. There is one issue with autophagy, and the issue is this. Actually there are two issues, and the first issue is this, that whenever you are in autophagy, you might require adjusting the dosage of any medication you might be taking, particularly if you are a diabetic person. And that's the reason that this should always be done under a medical supervision, should not be tried at home, particularly by the diabetics. Because when you are fasting, your blood sugar level goes down, and if you are taking the diabetic medicines also, they will further bring the sugar level down, and there would be good chances that you might end up having hypoglycemia, and hypoglycemia could be very dangerous. It actually could be life threatening at times. So it should be done under medical supervision. And there is another reason. Of course, this dosage adjustment requires in other diseases also, but it's particularly important in diabetics. And there is another reason, and that reason is this, that when you go on autophagy, then your body detox. And depending upon the toxicities you might be carrying because of the fat deposits, or because of you might have been eating a lot of food which contained many chemicals and so on. So there could be many things stored in your body, or there could be many old suppressed symptoms, like you might have undergone some kind of back pain or knee pain, things like that, and you might have suppressed them with the medicines. So those suppressed symptoms might be there. So suppressed symptoms or stored toxicities, those things come out to be excreted out from the body forever. And when they are coming out, they do have symptoms, and many people have symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, skin rash, fever, pains, coughing, many sorts of things. Well, it's not that everybody will have problems. Many people don't encounter any problem, and their autophagy phase goes very smooth, because if their body is clean. So if your body is clean, actually you will feel more clarity of mind and more energy in the body, and you would be more happy. during this phase. But if you are carrying toxicities, then there could be an issue, and medical supervision in that situation is helpful. Now, autophagy should also never be done in the cities, because if you do it in the cities are full of toxicities. So you are having your toxicity that is coming out, and there is a lot of toxic environment around also. The two toxicities put together makes the situation worse. So it should actually be done in some natural, pristine environment only. And we usually recommend 5 to 10 days duration for this. Some people may go for the longer, but less than 5 days actually doesn't cause much benefit. 10 days is a good time. So anything 5 to 10 days is a good time. The third part of forest therapy is re-strengthening, and usually we ask people to spend in this phase for 5 days. And what we do is this, that once you are coming out of your fast, so you need to go on a healthy diet in a very phased manner. You shouldn't directly jump to a hard full diet. You should start with a liquid diet, soft diet, less quantities, and gradually it should go up. So one part is this. Second is this, that sometime during the fasting you might lose some of your muscles. So indulging into more of physical work makes your muscles strong. So this becomes a re-strengthening phase, that you regain any of the muscle loss you might have incurred, and you also go on your natural diet, and it takes 5 days, as I said. Following to this, we would like people spending 3-4 weeks at home following some kind of protocol, which is mainly to have a kind of non-sedentary life style and low toxicities at home. So with non-sedentary, I mean to be more physically active, and not to be eating something which will have chemicals, junk or pesticides, things like that, breathing less toxic air, etc. Doing that 3-4 weeks will help you continuing those processes which got initiated here. Those biochemical changes that started happening here will continue for 3-4 weeks, and a little care during that period will help you substantially improvise. So this is what we follow the protocol here, but you might wonder that still things are not clear. You might look for having some kind of things given, that what do I do at 8 o'clock, what do I do at 10 o'clock, what do I eat, all such things. So for doing such things, we have prepared a booklet. This booklet is called the Forest Therapy booklet, and this particular booklet is for module 1, that is for diabetes, thyroidism and obesity, and booklet is designed for winter. We have various versions. There is another version for the summer. So depending upon the season, you can download actually this booklet from our website. Now since booklet is very detailed, it's not possible to describe the whole thing, but it has all the hourly details, what is to be done in what hours, complete details are provided. There are many tables to it. So this would be useful to anybody who is planning to learn more, research something in forest therapy, or is thinking of coming to Sehatvan and is curious to know that what will actually happen with them.